Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading, not mid-month, general reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of April. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. If the reading resonates and you would like to go a little bit deeper, at the end there will be a link that you can access that's in the description box. It'll take you over to Vimeo. We'll go to an extended and we pull it apart a little bit more. So, let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Scorpio. Can I have 3 cards for Scorpio, please? There's the first one. We have the Queen of Swords in your recent past. We have the Chariot and the 3 of Cups in your present energy. And what's coming towards Scorpio, please? Ooh, thank you. We have the Star for the month of April. It's the card of Aquarius in the Major Arcana. Beautiful. We've got the 6 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here, followed by the 3 of Swords and the High Priestess. How interesting. But if you've seen my readings before, you know from the Tarot of the Abyss that there are 2 different depictions of the 3 of Swords and the 10 of Swords, and you have the ultimate one here. Let me show you. So there's the 6 of Pentacles, there's the 3 of Swords, and that's beautiful because it's learning from experience. So hard won, painful experience, but taking it and feeding it a level of feeding yourself with a level of wisdom that comes off the back of it. And then we have the High Priestess, moving intuitively with that inner knowing that Scorpio is rather famed for, actually, I would say. So let's just pop those to one side and pick up a deck of clarifiers. Who are you? Which ones? Oh, we're going with the Night Sun Tarot. Okay. I'll keep an eye on the noise. I'll close the window in a minute if I need to. So, tell me about the Queen of Swords, please. Thank you. We have the Devil in reverse. We have the Eight of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. Nice. Tell me about the Chariot and 3 of Cups, please. We have the Sun. We have the 5 of Cups. And we have the Strength card. That's beautiful. I like that. Tell me about the Star. We have the 6 of Pentacles again and the King of Swords. Wonderful. Sorry, I'm going to have to stand up for this. There we go. Handle had fallen outside of the window. Right. Bit of peace and quiet. So, we have the World card at the bottom of the deck here, and I think that this is very important because I feel like you've known that this was coming, Scorpio. I feel like perhaps you've been in somewhat of a transitional stage up until recently, and now it was the beginning of the end, but now the end is kind of here and you can feel it coming in. Trampling on the back of your own ignorance, one might say. But this is beautiful because you've been very ready, very prepared to move into the next stage of your life, whatever that is. There's no sense of anything being static. There's movement ahead, and everything that you've been doing up until now has been in preparation for that movement. Like I said, that kind of preparatory stage for the end, but now the end absolutely is here. It's the end of a chapter, end of a cycle of your life, and the beginning of a new one. But the way that I see endings and beginnings is that not quite as discrete things anyway. I see they kind of fade in and fade out with each other there. So that an end and a beginning are almost the same thing, depending on which period of time you happen to be looking at it in. Anyway, kind of waffling. Where's my funny little selenite stickers downstairs, actually, so I'm gonna have to fiddle with this pen instead. Anyway, we start off with the Queen of Swords in your recent past. Now, everything to do with the swords, so it governs the mind, it governs the intellect, it governs, I guess, in some ways you would say, the consciousness too. And the Queen of Swords for me is that energy of sorting through an awful lot of information, right? And being very discerning about what applies here. You know, what are you going to carry forward and what are you going to leave behind? It's sort of rolling your sleeves up and being like, right, now we're going to get on with the business, you know. And the Queen of Swords can be quite a hard character, but I love the fact in the Tower of the Abyss that she's given this softer kind of depiction. You know, her hair is flowing, and at this point she's actually leaning on her sword, and she appears to be in prayer or something, at least in preparation for something. You know, one assumes at some point she's going to get up from there, and actually there's a maze behind her. Perhaps she is about to traverse the maze, you know, using the light that's atop the sword here. It talks about the way that you understand things having become very much clearer of late, as you listen to that voice within you that is trying to guide you forwards rather than keep you back. And the ability to be able to discern between those two voices has been an important part of your process. As we know, Scorpio is very concerned with protection, not just of yourself, but also of those that are very near and dear to you. But often that has come from a place of fear, because it's trying to avoid being hurt. And what has shifted in you is this expansion. You know, I keep referring to it, it's coming up in a lot of the readings, where you are becoming bigger than any situation that faces you, and as a result things don't get any less challenging, but your ability to be able to deal with them with grace, with discernment, with the light rather than the dark, although both have their place, you know, is becoming more and more significant. And as if to really drive that home, we have the Devil card in reverse. I was just wondering why, actually, when I was talking about that just there, I could see the Lovers card and the Devil card together. This is why. Because you're moving away from the Devil and you're moving towards the Lovers. To explain, the Lovers card and the Devil card to me are exactly the same card. You know, the Devil is 15, which reduces down to 6, and the Lovers card is 6, and we have the same structure in both cards. We have a, you know, some sort of figure in the background, whether it be a devil or an angel, and then we have two naked people stood either side, just in front. Now in the Devil card, these people are chained by the neck. They are chained loosely because it speaks to that illusory nature of the Devil, where we feel like we are trapped by things when in fact we are not, right? It deals with the fact that we misunderstand the importance, the significance, the weight of our own consent to every situation that we find ourselves in, right? So where the Lovers card holds free will and consent as primary, and from there, you know, you can choose to do anything you like. Actually, the choices are still available to you here, but this illusory nature of the Devil tells you that your consent doesn't mean shit, you know, and so you have to be here. They are chained by the neck, but, you know, they can take the chains off. They're never very tight. The fact that it's shown up in the reverse is a turning your back on the things, on the fears. It's like, yeah, I know you're there, but I also know where you come from, and I also know that that's not part of my experience moving forwards. Therefore, you have no power over me. Ooh, what's that? It's from a fairy tale. Maybe some Disney remake of a fairy tale, I don't know. Oh no, it's from Labyrinth. You have no power over me. It's what Sarah is reciting to the Goblin King. It's the line in the film. So at the beginning of the film, sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. At the beginning of the film, she's reciting this kind of poem between, I think, a princess and a Goblin King, and there's a kind of soliloquy, and she's just kind of going off on one, right? And maybe she's an aspiring actress or something. We're given to believe that that's the thing. And then obviously the Goblin King turns up and steals her little brother and runs away and stuff. When she goes to the labyrinth, she does repeat this to herself, and there's a line that she keeps forgetting, and it is, "You have no power over me." And that is the point when she remembers it, like right at the end of the film, spoiler, she does. That's what shatters the illusion of everything, when she realizes that this person has no power over her, this situation has no power over her, and she does not consent to feel fear in the face of this anymore, right? Everything gets blown apart, wide open. Little sidetrack for you. I love that film. I really do love that film. Not quite as much as Legend, but nevertheless. Anywho, and then, rather poetically, in fact, we see a character here coming out of the bottom of a very dark hole, like coming up towards the light, hearing the message and doing something about it, right? The Ace of Pentacles, right, if you look at it in a really flat way, it can be, you know, a new job, a new house, you know, it can be some sort of improvement of your material well-being, for sure. But I see the Pentacles as energetic currency. So anything then that you are capable of investing becomes a Pentacle. Your time, your care, your effort, your money, your love, your consent maybe even, who knows. So when you see the Ace of Pentacles, rather than it just being this flat, oh, here's a new thing that'll make your material life much nicer, it's more in keeping with this idea that where attention goes, energy flows. So it's about you picking up your pentacle and placing it in a different position. So you're deploying it elsewhere. So now, rather than being stuck at the bottom of this hole down here with the devil, climbing up and out and going, actually, I'm not going to feed these things, that I'm not going to feed the fear. I'm going to go and do something else instead. Right? It's quite subtle, Scorpio. It's not kind of throwing a grenade into a room and see what happens. I mean, this is real growth right now because you are reclaiming something for yourself, and it's almost reclaiming yourself from a past that was almost guaranteed to end up in an adult that was not well adjusted. You know, I'm talking about the fact that most Scorpios have at least one traumatic event in their childhood that causes them to clamp shut down their emotions and spend the rest of their lives trying to protect themselves from intimacy, from rejection, from, you know, whatever it is, or even actually protect others from that by not getting into relationships with them and stuff like that. It's actually an incredibly noble stance that is often missed by a lot of commentators on Scorpio, I think. So now we have you redeploying your pentacle, and I do feel like your emotional state is exemplary. There's something profoundly spiritual about what you are experiencing right now. I always knew that would happen. I remember saying back in 2020 when all the other signs were doing their work, I was like, I don't know what the fuck Scorpio's doing. They're kind of sculling about from side to side and looking everywhere other than inwards. But at the point where they do choose to look inwards, they're going to vault the rest of us and head out in front. And that does, you've absolutely borne out my intuition on that. I'm not going to lie. So we move to your current energy, and we've got the Chariot and we've got the Three of Cups, and this is important because I feel like this is speaking to the way in which your emotions are opening up now as well, right? You are ready to start engaging with the world, engaging with people, but engaging with them in a different way. We're talking about a Scorpio who faces the world without the devil at their back, right? You've taken your pentacle, you're redeploying it. What is it like to be you without all of the darker, more difficult, challenging aspects of being you, being the ones that are making the decisions, right? Those challenging experiences that you've had, they're never going to go away. Like, you have learned from those, but you do not need to carry the emotional weight of those anymore. So we have the Chariot, it's the card of Cancer, it's your sister water sign there. And this is all to do with, well, actually, it's pretty multivalent. So it's the card of the self. So everything to do with the self motivation, self discipline, autonomy, self awareness, self examination. You know, any word that you can prefix self onto is covered by this card. But it's also for me a card of shadow work, right? And too often, and I hope that I've addressed this in the shadow work videos, the shadow videos that I did, so people perceive the shadow as something evil that must not be acknowledged, and it's like, well, dudes, that's the whole fucking point. That's why the shadow grows so big, because people don't acknowledge it, right? I feel like you have, and I think that it's released you. We've got there these two geeses, it looks like, instead of sphinxes, and there's an elevation here, right? So no longer are the little stones and pebbles that might cause issues, you know, directly in front of you on the ground. No longer are they an issue, because actually you found you found a new dimension almost to traverse along. And I think that this is speaking absolutely to the way in which your spiritual life, your emotional life, everything has lifted. So yes, you are still a 3D being, and yes, you still have to chop water. I did that last time. Chop wood and carry water. To give some context to that, it's an old proverb, you know, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, right? Just because you're enlightened, it doesn't mean that you get to elevate beyond the necessities of being here as a 3D being. But you can elevate above the issues. You can elevate above those tiny little niggly challenging things that appear here right in front of you and be like, yeah, bitch, I've got geese, you know, and just go above the top of it, knowing that everything the only thing that is really consistent is that everything changes. And then we've got this, we've got the Three of Cups, which for me is emotional support networks, right? Seeing you being more willing to perhaps invest, but more importantly, allow people to invest in you. I think if it's one thing that I've picked up from Scorpios over the years is profound disappointment that people didn't see them for who they were. They didn't see their intentions for what they were. And you've borne it anyway, you know. And as the years have gone on, the disappointment becomes a little less all-encompassing. You're like, well, yeah, I knew that was going to be a thing, but that's fine, you know. There's a fluidity here. Now, you're not taking as much personally at all. I think you're willing to be seen. I really do think you are willing to be seen now in a way that you were not. Now the clarifiers down here are really interesting, because we do have this Scorpio card here of the Five of Cups. But we have two Leo cards flanking it. So we have the Sun over here, and we have the Strength card over here too. And, you know, there's absolutely a message here about embracing the light, but not just any light, like your own personal light. But there's a shift in consciousness too. I mean, for me, the moon talks about the hidden places, those things that are obscured, and to, you know, a lesser or greater degree, often the subconscious, you know, our subconscious drives and motivations and fears and the things that we kind of shy away from. The sun then correspondingly would become the conscious, where everything is conscious, the consciousness rather, where everything is brought into the consciousness. Remember that sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? That's what they say, isn't it? And I do think that that's true. No, I don't think that you're bearing your soul to all and sundry who might come along, telling them the story of your life. But I think that there's this interesting shift where you're not trying to fit in anymore. The thing is, you were never trying to fit in before. That's just not a Scorpio thing. But there was always a persona that you could bring forward. So, you know, there's actual private Scorpio in here, and then there is the persona, which is over here, and it's shifted and changed for every, you know, particular dynamic that you found yourself in at any given point, but that persona was completely impenetrable. It would take something very special indeed to be able to proceed beyond that. And in fact, you know, there were walls and levels behind that for everyone. So, you know, some people could get in a little bit further than others, but for the most part, everybody stayed here. And it was about covering up your pain, like covering up the ways in which you were suffering. Either because you felt like you deserved it, because you didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable, or because it was yours and it wasn't for the consumption of anyone else. You know, for a lot of you, it has been about protecting other people. You know, some of the things that were in there were so intolerably painful for you. Why would you share them with anyone else and let them see that, you know? The Five of Cups is all about grief and loss, and my God, if that doesn't characterize the Scorpio experience, I don't know what does, you know? It's it can be a card of mourning, but emotional subterfuge is what I just heard here as I'm looking at this card. This chap kind of just getting out of the way of you know, a line of sight, presumably. At the core, this is you as a result of the experiences that you've had. But I think that you are ceasing to allow this to define you, Scorpio. And so these two Leo cards are talking about a certain amount of visibility. You know, it's associated Leo with visibility, right? And that's coming in, for sure. But part of the visibility, I think, is you acknowledging things about yourself here that perhaps you just kind of kept hunkered down for a long time. Yeah, bringing it into your consciousness, because you've been doing a lot of healing over the last year. But I feel like, you know, what was internal focus is now moving external. We've covered this a lot in the last few readings that I've done for you. It's just like that. It's almost like you don't need to consciously think about all of the things that happen to you anymore, because we're detaching away from the emotion of that. So rather than it being a triggered response where, you know, some emotion's been tapped in, like, whoa, fuck, back off, you know, kind of situation. Now it's like, well, I have an intellectual appreciation of what happened to me, and I have now an emotional maturity where I can look at that without engaging with it. And the focus is moving from inwards to outwards now, like we've got here. And that can be just, you know, on a one-to-one level with people that you know, or this could be everything right up to the collective unconscious. There's a willingness to engage now. There's a willingness to bring what it is that you have learned to the table. And it's not that people are bastards, although, you know, some are, for sure. It's, these things happened, but look what I did. Look what I did to fix all of this. Look how I have grown, you know? You're not hiding your light under a bushel. Like I said, I don't imagine for a second that any of you are going to be writing memoirs anytime soon, but I think the thing that I'm trying to sort of get around to, I'm trying to feel my way around the side, it's got a shape, I'm trying to work out what it is, right, is that before, the ways that you had healed, you didn't reveal because that would have accidentally, inadvertently exposed the ways in which you were broken, for the want of a better word, before, right? So it's almost like all of that was very, very private, and it was just all about the persona. Now you're more willing to share the ways in which you have healed, and whether people choose to have a think about why you might have needed to heal in that way, and then be able to make, you know, kind of assumptions about what might have happened to you, that concerns you less now than the ability to be able to share what it is that you have learned. There you go. I think that's what it does. So when we move to April, things look really quite stunning. We have the Star card, one of two Aquarius cards that we've got going on here. Isn't Aquarius, aren't several planets moving into Aquarius really soon? I feel like Saturn and something else are in Aquarius. It's interesting. These energies should be at play, but here we've got the Star. Again, I cannot help but feel that there's a certain visibility associated here with you. You are seen in some ways, whether whether it is you are actually putting yourself on a platform like this and talking to thousands and thousands of people, or whether you are willing to just talk to people that you know who are struggling in a way that you understand and you know the way out of. I mean, this is pure light worker energy here. Scorpio, whether or not you choose to take the shadow path or whether you just full love and light, I know. If you're working with what you know, then the chances are that I'm talking to a whole fleet of shadow workers right now, and that's cool, because I think it is the highest form of light work that there is, that you can do, right? And that's not because I do it. It's because at the individual level, sorting out your own shit is the most critical thing that you can do for the betterment of everybody else in the world. Like the hands down, shadow of a doubt. You can go around and give bright blessings and love and light to everyone that you like, everyone that you care to, but a lot of light workers are thralled by their shadow, and I see it a lot. Okay. So sort your own shit out first, and then you are in a position to be able to help other people. And that visibility seems to be coming through really strong here. There is a star on the ascendant here for you, Scorpio. But even if it isn't necessarily about that level of visibility, what we've got here is a connection forming. There's I don't remember the content of the readings that I've done for you recently, just like little flashes of things here and there, but this sense of you aligning to your purpose, finding meaning in everything that you have experienced, that can be a complete game changer. As soon as you find that meaning, suddenly everything shifts, and it's not about suffering for the sake of suffering anymore. It's not like I felt for a long time, like I was just literally a misery sponge, and I absorbed all of this crap so other people could live nice lives. It's not about that. There's something entirely different going on here, and that can be what's I say, it could be kind of discombobulating, but it's not. It actually, it's quite the reverse. Suddenly everything makes sense. Suddenly there is clarity. Suddenly the thought of living this intensely spiritual life is something that you can do on top of chopping wood and collecting water. You can marry these two extremes and live that life. That's what I'm seeing here. We've got the Six of Pentacles and the King of Swords down here. Now, the Six of Pentacles is all about bringing balance to a situation. And sometimes that can be through charity, but often it's to do with yourself too. And this King of Swords is Aquarius energy. And so it is given to be associated with, excellent expression, clear thinking, but clear vocal expression to other people, being able to communicate things to people. But it's also about decisions. Tell me about this King of Swords, please. I've got two cards here. We've got the Nine of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles. Holy shit, look at that. Nine of Cups, Nine of Pentacles. And we've got the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. I feel like there's an opportunity. Is it an opportunity? An opportunity makes it feel like it's a very discrete thing that arrives fully formed like a thing, and I don't get that impression from this at all. There is an awakening, a gentle acknowledgement that this is your path coming for you here in April. Almost like the synchronicities and the confirmations, the validations are all just going to be coming thick and fast, and you can see them now. And it would be kind of pointless trying to explain them to anybody else because they wouldn't really get it. But you can see it because your particular version of your particular internal voice is going this way, this way, this way. And you're like, no, just this way, this way, this way. There's something you're being pulled towards magnetically. And for you, like, all decisions need to be made on the basis of whether it feels good to you, right? Whether it brings emotional value to your life, and whether you have the energy to do it. Because I feel like your energy is increasing. Perhaps your, what's the word that I'm looking for? Stamina, there we go. Your stamina is increasing in whatever it is that you're doing. But you first is appearing in a different way to the way that it has done previously in your life. You know? It's like the difference between selfishness and self-care. Like, if you've grown up being told that thinking of yourself in any way whatsoever is unacceptable behaviour, utterly selfish, no good, then anything where you put yourself first, anything where you try and take care of yourself, is going to feel like incredibly indulgent. I know, right up until my late 30s, I used to look at people talking about self-care and just snort derisively and say, who's got time to be that fucking self-indulgent? If only I had the time to do things like that, you know, because I didn't get it. Didn't get it. Now I do get it. Now I understand. For some of you, this is going to be related to work. We've got the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, but, and if it is related to work, I have to say it's doing something like I do, right? It isn't necessarily sitting here and reading cards for people, but it could be some other spiritual modality. There's a sense here of you being able to work to show people hope. Show it where it still remains, right? We've got the rainbow at the bottom of the deck here, bottom of the card here. It's knowing how to find it. It's knowing how to sort through everything, put it all in the right place and go, here are your life experiences, here are the lessons that have come from it, and this is what you take moving forwards. Anything else is just fucking guff, you know? But for others of you, it's committing to a particular way of life. You know, there are decisions, like I said, that will come up here in the month of April for you, but your guiding lights need to be you. What feels good for you, what it is that you feel like you can undertake without it being energetically expensive. What do you have the spoons for? What are you willing to do? Anything else that sits beyond that is too much at this point. Although the energy is building, and I do feel quite strongly that the energy is building for whatever it is that you're planning to do, like, that stamina takes a while to build up, and like, don't run before you can walk. Maybe it's don't fly before you can run, because you do seem to be moving here, you know. Whatever it is, I think that you've got an absolute gift in helping people find perspective, find that balance. And you've got a voice, Scorpio, and you have not used it. And I think the world is waiting to hear what you have to say, because you've got an important job to do here, for sure. Right, I've prattled on for like 34 minutes. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna go over to Vimeo. If you would like to know a little bit more about April, please do feel free to come and join me there. The link is in the description box. Obviously, if you are a patron on Patreon, you get access to all the extended content for no extra cost. So just shuffle on over there. But April feels really clean, Scorpio. I think that's the best way I can put it. It feels really clean. Everything feels kind of direct. And like I said, the validations and the synchronicities and all those kind of things, like they're so spot on. You're just like, I know where I'm going. I know where I'm going. This is cool. There isn't any fog in the way. There isn't anything kind of cluttering everything up. It's just clean intuition and a knowledge of what you do next, you know? So, yes, I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.